Good morning, good day, everyone from Singapore. The Milan team delegation headed by the Vice Mayor, Mrs. Anna Scavuzzo. We are all here in Singapore for the European ICP exchange. And we thought it was a great moment, a great week to conclude this long training as ICP, IURC, and MUFPP Asia Pacific Food Policy training here in Singapore with two great intervention, both from the city of Singapore and from the city of Bangkok. So let's start immediately because the program is quite rich. I just saying you that this is the last webinar connected with the last category of the Milan Urban Food Policy Path, which is food waste prevention. But without further ado, I would like to hand over to Mr. Michel Mouchirou, who is the Deputy Head of the EU Foreign Policy Instrument for Asia Pacific, for his welcoming remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Filippo. Good morning and good afternoon. I think it's good afternoon for everyone online in Asia. And thank you for inviting me to say a few words on behalf of the European Union. First of all, I would like to thank the Vice Mayor of Milan, Ms. Anna Scavuzzo, for being with us today. She's in charge of food policy, so it's a very nice way to conclude the series with her presence and to hear from her a bit later. But I'd like to welcome really everyone to this final session of the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact and IURC Asia Pacific Food Policy Training. Today, we're going to focus on food waste prevention and management. I think on behalf of the European Union, I would really like to thank all of you who have participated in such an important topic, not just in Asia Pacific, but from also other corners of the world. It's not a surprise, you work on this for many countries. Food waste remains a major challenge, and cities are definitely in the forefront of trying to deal with this. In this sense, there are many opportunities that are being offered by focusing on making food systems more sustainable as a whole, but it's of course full of challenges. So we were very pleased to have this partnership with the municipality of Milan within the International Urban and Regional Cooperation Program, as we call it IURC. For one main reason, Milan has been leading the world on urban food policy, very much since the first Expo where the pact was born, and to have Milan participate in the IRC has helped the EU to advance the conversation on our own strategy, which is the farm to fork strategy, and to be able to share it with you and other partners internationally. This is important for the European Union because the strategy is one of the key ones, one of the key policies to enhance sustainability and accessibility of our food systems. And it's a very important contribution on how we plan to address climate change. It is part of the European Union Green Deal. I hope by now that everybody has heard of the EU Green Deal, because it's really our leading policy about transforming European economy and European society towards this net zero future objectives. That means that we are really putting all our policies and implementation towards sustainable actions across all sectors and by all sectors. So it has been great for us to be able to have those 6 sessions and webinars on food policy. Just a quick fact, 400 participants from more than 20 countries participated. I think this really shows the importance of the topic as part of the urban, sustainable urban development, but also as how we see the future towards those net zero objectives. And I think just to flag, we've been very pleased to also welcome new leaderships by other cities. In particular, we had the honor to collaborate with Milan and Bandung in Indonesia in organizing the first Asia Pacific Regional Forum, which was part of the G20 summit organized by Indonesia this year. We're also very proud that Seberang Perai from Indonesia and Chiang Mai from Thailand joined the pact. There are 2 IURC cities and definitely leading by example in terms of sustainable urban development. and showing how food waste and food policy can be refought in Asia Pacific in a sense. I know just later we'll also hear from the city of Bangkok, and I'm very glad, and I'd like to thank Kunponprom Vikitsate from the Bangkok Metropolitan Administration for sharing with us what Bangkok is doing and the cooperation it has initiated with Milan through the IURC program, especially because they've got quite a forward-thinking and ambitious food security and food waste program. So I think it's interesting to have that concrete application shared. I know the City of Singapore will also share their example later. So I would like to really thank them for being here today and illustrating a little bit what's behind the policy and how it gets implemented on the ground. And as the European Union, we of course stand ready and reiterate our commitment to help cities improve how they think about and deal with food waste in general, to provide examples in our partnership through Milan and in general through the IURC program. So thank you very much for listening in this morning, and I wish all of us a very interesting webinar today.
Thank you so much, Michel, for your words of introduction. I'm delighted now to leave the floor to the Vice Mayor of Milan in charge of food policy, Ms. Anna Scavuzzo, please.
Thank you, Filippo. First of all, thank you to Michel for your appreciation and also for the important effort yours and European Union's both. And good day from Singapore. It's my pleasure to open this last webinar for this time of the Asia Pacific Food Policy Training developed by the Milan-Urban Food Policy Pact Secretariat and the IUC program over the last months. As Michel mentioned before, thanks to the important experience acquired since 2015, the city of Milan decided to propose to the IUC to create a dedicated cluster, well represented here today. I'm very happy to see how many people we are within the IUC program, fully devoted to urban food policy, and above all for us, sustainable urban food policies. Therefore, we joined forces at the beginning of 2022 to design this training with the aim of promoting the development of food policy in Asia Pacific, moving from the idea that food is a fundamental entry point to address many challenges of growing cities. During these months, we saw a continuous flow of knowledge sharing thanks to these 7 webinars strictly connected with the Milan Pact recommended actions. I am happy to say that these fruitful exchanges didn't stop online, but had important follow-ups also offline. 200 people join us, officers from 50 cities in 14 countries. We have 10 cities that present their best practices, which I thank for their commitment and for their effort. We see this engagement also by the increasing number of mayors that signed the pact in Asia Pacific over these months. We went from 20 in early 2022 to the 30 to date. And also, Michel mentioned the last cities, signatory cities. I would like also to recall the session on food production that took place in person at the first Milan-Urban Food Policy Pact Regional Forum in the framework of the Indonesian G20, and in occasion to further develop synergies among us, thanks to the collaboration with Bandung, UNPRR, IURC, and Ricolto. This last session today is devoted to food waste prevention, and we will hear from Milan, my city, and from 2 very important cities, Bangkok and Singapore. They are both paired with Milan under the IURC and ICP program, but financed by the European Union. And this is the reason why we are here in Singapore today for this important activity we are sharing with the city. Let me conclude by stressing once again that the Milan-Urban Food Policy Pact set as its priority to support Asia Pacific cities to release their positive impact on sustainable food system. This commitment will surely continue under different activities in 2023. So I would like to thank once again the IURC for this fruitful cooperation, all the speakers and you all for having attended this training. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vice Mayor. So let's now review again the program. So there will be, as always, I think you are now very familiar with it, an introduction on the food waste reduction category of the Milan Pact with some useful indicator. Then there will be the presentation from the Milan case. Then we will have the Bangkok case followed by Singapore. And then we will have our Q&A with some final remarks from Mr. Pablo Gandara at the very end. So happy to start by telling you, I think that you are more than familiar with the Milan Pact, so we can continue just giving you an overview of the work done together. You can see that we had an introductory webinar at the very beginning of spring, and then we have six other webinars starting from governance in April, and we concluded at the end of 2022. But it's not, I'm sure that it is not the last time that we are working together and we are see each other, at least online. As the Vice Mayor just said, we are happy to set up other interesting activities for you in 2023. So moving ahead with the presentation, we will use, as always, our framework for action, so the 37 recommended action and the 44 MUFPP and FAO indicator to assess the impact. Plus, this is also a new part of it. We have 620 first practices after the last edition, the very recent edition of the Milan Pact Awards. We are dealing with that in a moment. So what about the food waste recommended action? You can see here in the slide that there are 4 recommended actions that are falling in the food waste category. And the final aim here is to reduce food waste as well as managing it in a more sustainable way, and by adopting also a circular economy approach. So you can see the first one, that is convene food system actors to assess and monitor food losses and waste reduction. So create, let's say, a map of all the stakeholders that are involved in the city food supply chain. This is the first part, and is very connected also to governance. Then raise awareness on food losses and waste through many different activities that might be events, campaigns, also in schools. And this is something that is also connected to the second category. While collaborate with private sector along with research, educational and community-based organization. And the idea here is to, at the very end, prevent waste and safely recover I will highlight this, safely recover food and packaging using. Finally, save food waste, of course, by facilitating recovery and distribution for human consumption, and make sure that it's safe and nutritious food. With these 4 recommended actions are connected with the indicators. You can again download the indicators following the QR code here. The methodological guidelines will facilitate you to implement the indicators by explaining you the rationale for selecting the indicators. It is no needed to use all of them, but you can choose according on the environment, or your environment and your priority. Then you have an explanation on how to collect the data and the expertise and resources needed, and also some useful example. Let me also remind you that this framework is also useful to connect your effort, your food policy effort, to assess your SDGs impact. These are the 4 indicators connected with food waste. So you will see here in the slide, let's say the sentence we have been able to sum up, let's say, for each of the indicators. So to make it very clear for this explanation. So it's total annual volume of food losses and waste, and also the annual number of events and campaigns aimed at addressing this issue. Then the presence of policies and regulation that address food waste prevention and redistribution. And finally, total annual volume of surplus food recovered. Of course, as I mentioned, you will see in the guidelines the explanation for this very short, let's say, sentences that sum up the 4 indicators to this category. Finally, our last tool, you can see in this that is the practice received during the Milan Pact Awards editions. You can see here, just to get inspired, the winning cities and special mention on the food waste category. So we had Riga, Bruges, Turin, Sao Paulo, and then this year, I will go in depth now. This year we have for 2022, we had just closed the last edition in Rio de Janeiro and during the last Global Forum, having London as a winning city for food waste prevention, and then as a special mention, the city of Guelph, Cincinnati, and Quelimane. Just to let you know, we are working on a report that will focus the attention on mostly, let's say, on the winning cities and special mention. So you will receive, if you are a signatory city, you will receive it in the next week. So you can get inspired from these cities that won the awards. So I'm concluding now this introductory part, just stressing that as this is the last webinar, at least for this year, if you haven't signed the pact yet, please reach out to Milan Pact Secretariat. Sign the pact is very easy. We need the subscription letter signed by the mayor and a focal point, and then you will have access to, well, the support from the Secretariat to reach out many other cities that are sharing with you challenges and possible solution. It is also a warm invitation to have soon some Vietnamese cities that can sign the pact. It will be great to have some of them after this series of webinar. Thank you so much and for your attention. And then I am delighted to leave the floor to Elisa Porreca, that is a food policy officer of the city of Milan, that will explaining you the Milan Zero Food Waste Hubs model that has also won the Heartshot Prize of the Royal Foundation. Thank you, Elisa. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Filippo, and I hope you hear me well. Yeah, okay. So it's an honor to be here today for the last chunk of the training of the MUFPP, and I'm really glad to be sharing the experience of Milan on circular economy. It should be okay. You should see my slides. Let me just put them. Okay, now you should see them in full screen. So we are once again looking at the actions and the commitment that we are bringing on with the Milan food policy, and in particular on the field of action of reducing food waste. That is one of our main priorities in the city. I would like to start again from a general overview of the Milan food system, and mainly because, of course, today it's more important than ever to look at it as a circular system. So when speaking of food waste and reduction of food waste and all the possible solutions that we can implement, we always have to keep and look at the link that we have from the production, that is always seen as the first step in the journey of food, and how near it is to the phase of waste management, and all the different experiences that we have to implement to close the loop and to actually have a circular approach. So once again, we can start looking at the recommended actions of the MUFPP, since from the methodological point of view, the city of Milan again started this whole work from a food system analysis and the mapping and the data collection that was possible. And you see a few KPIs here on the left, was the stepping stone that we needed to start our work. At the same time, as raising awareness and of course collaborating with the private sector are a huge part of our work in this section. And of course, our goal is to save as much as food as possible for human consumption. Of course, we have other options, but what we are concentrating with the Milan food policy at the moment is really to implement all the projects possible to divert food losses streams towards human consumption, since we are really speaking about food that is perfectly edible. And with this in mind, we also always try to connect to donating this kind of food to vulnerable communities in our city. But let's start from how you convene all the stakeholders. And so we often use a community of practices to have this kind of exchange with the stakeholders. From one side, we always try to update the stakeholders that are invited. And on the other side, we are able to listen and to establish this open connection with organizations and even with the citizens, with the community of people in Milan. And you can see from this small overview, and I can assure you, because I was in the events, that speaking about food waste is a great start to connect both with organizations and private sector that are dealing with food waste, and also with organizations that are dealing with food aid distribution. So you already see that the co-benefits coming from this kind of actions are extremely linked, and they touch to a very, very huge field of action for a food policy at a urban level. Of course, when speaking about food waste reduction, we start looking at the very big drivers for change that we have in our city. On one side, we have our school canteen system, which is a great food waste generator on one side, but because we are managing, and I think you know by this time, since we have been speaking about the system quite a few times, that we produce 85,000 meals per day. And so you can imagine that what we are trying is to donate all the food that is possible to donate, of course, in line with the healthcare guidelines. On the other side, the huge infrastructure that we always keep collaborating with, it's our wholesale market. And in particular, we collaborate with the part of the market that is selling fruit and vegetables. We were able just last year to launch an additional funding opportunity for organizations that are recovering food losses inside the market. We were even able to make them work together, and it was the first time that the municipality, together with the grant maker, that in this case was a bank foundation, Fondazione Cariplo, we were able to co-design together with the associations and the charities. We co-designed a space that is useful for all the different organizations, that can be used in different schedules and timing through the week, and this will guarantee a better service also for the sellers that are able to donate inside the wholesale market. So these are two actions that we established, but you don't have to think about them just as, okay, we co-design the solution and then we will see how it goes. It is always important to keep the monitoring and to establish data baseline, but also to implement and listen to these kind of stakeholders that you are working with in order to better the solution each year. In particular, we also had these actions with the school canteen system, where the agency, the municipal agency, Milano Ristorazione, that is providing food and meals, were also able to provide these doggy bags. And the main focus on this action, and the thing that I really want to stress, aside from the number, which is growing every year because the distribution of doggy bags is ongoing, it is the educational side of this initiative. Of course, the municipal agency has one main goal, which is provide the food to children. So that's their focus and their main activity. On the other side, this informal education coming from having a tool, and also the message that you convey through these tools are the key to also spread a message. We will also try in the very near future to convey additional messages for a better food education and to avoid food waste with children. And this is something that, of course, we will build also with our educational department of the municipality and together with the municipal agency. For now, they all have these doggy bags with which they can collect bread and fruit that is not consumed and that they can bring home. We also had an interesting experience, and with this, we really touched the connection with the private sector, which is always one of our top priority, to not leave the private sector outside our actions. And this was a pilot with a waste tax reduction. The test started in 2018, and here you can see a bit of the data that were coming out from that first monitoring. Of course, regulations coming from waste tax is always a very delicate field to work on. And at the same time, in Milan, we have several incentives for the private sector, even just for a separate waste collection. So the fact that this discount that was available for the private sector was to be added with other reductions, made it maybe a bit less appealing for the private sector. At the same time, you can see that even from just 1 year monitoring, the data are quite interesting. And the other interesting part, of course, was the opportunity that we had, thanks to this initiative, to really connect with a wider range of private sector stakeholders, because to develop this kind of tool of reduction, a consultation was carried out with the actors, and this gave us added knowledge about our food system on the private side. And staying on this environment of actions where we try to bring everybody to the same table, we also developed the experience that Filippo was mentioning at the beginning of my presentation, which is the food waste hub that we developed in our city. So here you can see the vice mayor to the first inauguration of our first hub that started its activities in January 2019. And so might seem quite recent. At the same time, I can tell you that the work that was done by the municipality in collaboration, in strong collaboration with key partners, with an MOU dedicated with common goals, started way before. So again, the element of co-designing of actions. And now what we have is our cities map that is almost covered, and we have hubs well spread around the city. We are still trying to find new spots to cover whole our districts in the city. And the key success for these hubs that are meant to collect food waste coming from small retailers and supermarkets, and then redistribute the food losses within the same day to the local charities, is partially on the partnership that I was mentioning. So the municipality with the Politecnico University, with a trade union called Asso Lombarda, which is gathering so many private companies in Milan territory and wider metropolitan area, and with the bank foundation that is Fondazione Cariplo. You can see that we covered almost all the, all the different souls of the society. So the private sector, the public bodies, the research bodies, and also the civil society organizations. It was the key element for the success of this initiative, because everybody is bringing a different point of view to the initiative. On the other side, the added values were coming from the fact that each of these institutions brought not only their knowledge and their objective, their common goals, but also a solid contribution. So the municipality, when relevant, made available unused or underused spaces. The university developed a logistic model for all the different hubs, and also the monitoring framework for the data coming from the measurement of food waste going through the hubs. Of course, the trade union provided the private sector and involved their associate partners in the action. And of course, the bank foundation, as well as the other sponsors that you see always in the center under the sponsor column, brought economic resources. So this virtual cycle that we established was coming from the fact that these actions are bringing together all these actors, and as well as bringing added value and co-benefits to our city, because at the same time, we are not only saving food waste, we are making sure that all these resources that we can gather are not going around the wider region and then coming back to the vulnerable community in Milan, but we make sure that also from the environmental point of view, this flow is sustainable. And we always try to better this kind of cycle. I would like to just sum up a bit the action and then start concluding by underlining that the monitoring that you can see in this slide is coming from the Politecnico, so the university partner, that was able, with the collaboration of the private sector, to show the delta between how much they waste and how much they were able to donate. And the important part in this part of their work is that the private sector, seeing this data and having this kind of constant monitoring of how they waste and what they are wasting, because they have also the details of the categories of food that is wasted, were able to, exploiting this data, they were able to lower their waste. So as you can see, the action is meant to lower waste and at the same time to provide food to vulnerable people. So why is it a positive thing that the system is wasting less if we have less food for the vulnerable communities? It is because, of course, food waste is a cost for the society, and we can always involve new actors. So lowering the general amount of food waste is a benefit for the city, for the waste management system. At the same time, we can always try to find resources to also supply the food aid system. So it is a complex system, but we are trying to touch all the different actions and all the different goals. And this was possible thanks to this wide environment of stakeholders. So let me just conclude by showing you a bit how we represent in a very infographic way the bio-waste cycle of the city of Milan. And let's just say that, to conclude, that of course we have a huge flow of bio-waste that is treated with a very innovative plant, where byproducts that are produced are of course biomethane, energy, CO2, and compost. But what the food policy is always trying to do is to stress and increase the smaller circle, the orange smaller circle that can bring food waste back to food losses and back to the consumption of our society. So thank you, and I conclude here. Back to Filippo.
Okay, thank you so much, Elisa, for your clear presentation. So if you, in the meantime, if you have questions, I see that there's already some questions in the chat. You can start writing them in the chat box. So we will at the end reply to all the questions. So let's now move to Asia Pacific, where we are all this week, also the Milan delegation. It will be now a pleasure to invite Mr. Porn Dikitsre. He is the advisor to the governor of Bangkok on environmental affairs, and we had the pleasure to meet him in Bangkok during our last field visit there. So he will talk about the food waste management in Bangkok, and it's I'm happy to meet you again here online. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Filippo, and hello everybody. I'm Juan From. So very nice to meet you again, Filippo, online, and everybody. And today I'll be talking about BMA, the Bangkok Metropolitan Administration, and its policy towards combating food waste in the city. So please allow me to share the slide. Okay, can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll talk about the food waste policy in two parts. First is a food waste management scheme, and the second one is the policy we're doing on food bank. So allow me to just give a quick overview on the waste situation in Bangkok. So on the left-hand side is the city's waste classification that is done by the Department of the Environment from the BMA, which we get the information from from our analysis done, and we see that 45%, nearly half of all waste in Bangkok, around 10,000 tons per day, nearly half of it is food waste. And the rest is plastics, papers, other organic waste, glass, textiles, etc. So you see that the vital component of our waste in the city is food waste. And the right-hand side is a recent study done by the Stockholm Environment Institute, which I found this very interesting. So of course, this is a much smaller sample size than the study conducted by the environmental department, and they looked at all the household waste, and they see that on average per month, an individual households in Bangkok create around 43.47 kilograms of waste per month. which they then segregate into the different types. And they see that out of the 43 kilograms, 36 per month is organic waste. So making about 83%, while the rest is, glass bottles and others, plastic bottles or plastic waste only making up 2%. What is more interesting is that they then further analyze that organic waste and what is being done with it. So they say that in the 83% of organic waste, 90% of that goes into trash, whereas, not a lot is gone into compost and others. While the glass bottle, the 12% actually is being sold or donated of 71.3%, whereas only a quarter or 25% goes into trash. And plastic bottles, then only 6% go into trash, while majority or 89% is being recycled, being sold or donated. So the overall picture here says that the most of the waste is organic, and that majority of waste is not being treated at all. It's gone into trash or landfill. So it is a big problem in Bangkok. So just some very quick overview that today we do have a lot of efforts to take out waste that can be recycled, like PET bottles and others, and also we have, which is the yellow bin that you can see, and then the red bin is electronic waste, etc., where the city have a very comprehensive program already to take out the e-waste. But the present day, the problem is the mix between organic waste and landfill waste. This is the blue and the green bin. So if we are able to take the two apart, that it will be so much easier to manage for the city. And then actually the blue bin, which mostly go into landfill and is mixed, can actually be utilized of some sort. Now we have RDF facilities. We also try to look at pyrolysis and others. So if the blue bin is dry, rather than being mixed with all the food waste, then it can really be utilized. And that is the goal. That's why we try to take out the food waste, not only to utilize the food waste, but to utilize the blue bin as well. So first, we need to gain the public trust, because we see a lot that the people like to say, why should they separate the waste if when it's being collected, then it's being put back together or it's mixed together again. So it's kind of as a disincentive for the public. So we say that, okay, we're going to start by gaining that trust by saying our current garbage collection truck should all have a separate compartment for food waste. So if you separate for us, then we ensure you that it's not going to be mixed with other waste. And that's on the left-hand side, where we have a separate component in the red circle there. And on the right-hand side, we also have a separate garbage collection truck merely for the food waste. So this is also to build the public trust. We started this in 3 pilot districts, and covering 2,681 households, which still small, but it's a good first step. Pilot district. And this is to show in the 2 months we've done from September to October, the 2,000 or so households cover. We got around 52,000 kilograms of waste, or around 10%. But we can see that only the 10% that we segregated out can be turned into, carbon emissions saved, or, things are being utilized. Because once we separate the food waste, we already have a compost facility where we can turn into compost and utilize, rather than going to landfill. Next step is that we also have a online registry for people who are interested to show themselves as someone who separate the waste to register. And then we can see on the map where everyone is, not only individuals, but the supermarkets, restaurants, etc. They can come through the application called Traffic Fondue, which is the BMA is using a lot as a kind of like the smart government application, and you can register yourself and show. So here's kind of the map. This is we only promoted within the last month and ask everyone to come and register themselves. So the green is individual households, the yellows are restaurants, and then supermarkets and malls, etc. are the pink ones. So, but we are now getting more and more registry every day. So the role of the district is to see where in the district are the locations, and then how do you set out a specific route just to collect the food waste and then take it to the right facility. So that is the food waste side that we're doing very aggressively to raise awareness and to combat this issue, building the public trust and trying to find the perfect cycle for food waste, how to segregate at the household and then have a good collection system, and then take the food waste into the specific facility to make into compost. And the second one is, how to prevent food waste from happening in the first place, which is a food bank, where today we are now partnering with food bank, social enterprise to form this policy. Well, we also have 10 prototypes districts of listed to the right-hand side here. So what we do is that we act as the bridge, the linkage in the middle, where we try to connect the providers and the recipient. So the district officers, they are well equipped to do this because they are very close and well connected with the recipients, which is the local communities and the vulnerable people. So they know who's who in that district. They work very closely and they know who to give the surplus food to. So we have a very capable entity in district office as part of the equation. But of course, we could first have the district officers to deal with the providers themselves. But we feel that, sometimes it will be quite a work overload for the district officers to go and talk to restaurants and malls and ask for their food surplus. So luckily, we have a SOS and also VV Share, which are two key social enterprise working in this field. They will work with us to become kind of like the platform that will link the provider to the district office. So they will have what they call a cloud food bank, like an online platform system. And then the district can go online to check every day to see where will the food surplus be. They can log in and say, okay, the food surplus will come from restaurant A, B, C in that district. And then the district will then send allocated the transport to go to those restaurants to pick up and then link straight to the recipients. And another good thing is definitely on the safety issue, because the SOS and VV Share will guarantee the safety of the food surplus so that it will not have any negative effects on the recipients. And VV Share and SOS are also committed to give training to BMA and district officers as well. So we will host a big training session end of the year. So district officers will send the people who are involved in this project, and then they'll get trained on how to measure the food surplus correctly, how to diagnose if there is all good, how to do the data gathering and data filling, etc. So that we can keep, because you understand, the data is a big issue, and we can then provide the data for the supermarkets and restaurants and say, you every week, every day you are producing way too much food, then maybe it's for you to reduce. Yeah, so this is the system that we are about to launch with SOS and VV Share. And this is already a pilot project that we did in one of our districts. So this is without the third party, and it's doing quite well already. And they're donating a lot, and that is doing every day, so it's rather sustainable. So the district office has been very preemptive in doing the food bank policy, and also the governor's vision. Not only we will link the food surplus straight to the communities, but he also wants each district to have a small supermarket sort where the people can come to the supermarket and get the kind of like a store, and maybe they buy at a very, very cheap price for the surplus food, etc. So yeah, these are the two key policies for the BMA in terms of food waste and also preventing the food waste through the food bank policy. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Ponfrom. Now let's also for the introductory part, because give us a clear idea of your waste system situation, and we should be all aware that a big part of the waste that we throw, so you mentioned plastic are at the end food packaging, so it's something connected to the circular economy of food as well. So thank you so much. Let's now move to Singapore with the presentation of the food waste management here. We have a great conversation on this this week. Thank you so much for welcoming us and taking care of us. It has been a very rewarding experience. So thank you so much to the colleagues of Singapore and to the ICP program. So it's now my pleasure to leave the floor to Mr. Yap Jaji, that is the executive engineer at the National Environmental Agency of Singapore. The floor is yours.
Hi, thanks, Filippo. Let me just share my slides. You all can see my slides? Yep, okay. Yeah, so hi, good afternoon, everyone. So it's my pleasure to be sharing at the food policy training webinar. So I'll be sharing more about our food waste management in Singapore. So the outline will be more on the Zero Waste Master Plan and also the Singapore Green Plan, followed by the food waste management strategy. So launched in 2019 by the Ministry of Sustainability and Environment and also the National Environment Agency, we actually launched this master plan which laid out Singapore's key strategy towards a zero waste nation, with important roles played by the government, businesses, and also the community. So under the Zero Waste Master Plan, we have set up 3 targets, namely on the screen, to extend our Singapore-only Singapore landfill, Semakau landfill, to the lifespan beyond 2035. And then to reduce the amount of waste sent to the landfill per capita per day by 20% by 2026, and then 30% by 2030, and also to achieve a 70% overall recycling rate by 2030. So to overcome the challenge of climate change, unsustainable consumption, and also land constraint, to seize the opportunity, then we must collectively build 3 new resilient. So the climate resilient to address accidental threats of climate change, especially the rising sea levels. Resource resilient to ensure safe and secure supply of critical resources. And last but not least, economic resilience, whereby ensure Singapore economy remain competitive by overcoming carbon and resource constraint. So to do so, there's a need to actually shift from a linear economy to a circular economy with more sustainable production, consumption, and also waste to resource management processes. This entails closing as many loops as we can closing the loops that is small, and then to minimize wastage and also resources in the production and consumption stage. So So Singapore government also have launched the SG Green Plan, which is a whole of nation roadmap with concrete sectoral plans and ambitious target over the next 10 years to tackle to allow Singapore to achieve net zero emission as soon as possible. So waste management and recycling is actually part of the sustainable living pillar, with the 4 other pillars being city in nature, energy reset, green economy, and also resilient future. So as mentioned in the Zero Waste Master Plan, so one of the targets is to reduce the waste to landfill per capita per day by 30% by 2030. And then this goal will be actually front-loaded to achieve a 20% reduction in waste to landfill per capita per day by 2026 under the Singapore Green Plan 2030. So for more information, you can actually scan the QR code to read more about the Singapore Green Plan. So in line with the Zero Waste Master Plan, so we also enacted the Resource Sustainability Act, which aims to target the 3 key priority waste streams, namely the food waste, packaging waste, and also e-waste. So these waste streams have generally high generation and also a low recycling rate. And as for e-waste, it will have detrimental effect on the environment if it's not properly managed. So for particularly the food waste, so it's actually mandatory for food waste segregation for treatment and reporting for large food waste generator. And this can be actually split into 2 phases from 2021 onwards. So developer of new large commercial and industrial premises, such as the hotel, mall, industrial premises, will be required to allocate space for on-site food waste treatment in their design plan submitted. And from 2024 to 2025 onwards, they'll be required to actually segregate this food waste and also for reporting. So for more information, you can also scan the QR code to read more on the portion related to food waste under the Resource Sustainability Act. So now I'll be talking more about the food waste management strategy that has been adopted by Singapore. So here are actually the key driver for food waste management. So food wastage actually stresses our food security, and also it can cause smell and pest nuisance and requires frequent collection and also thereby increasing road traffic. So food waste also actually contaminate our recyclable material like the plastic container and also cardboard cartons. So separating food waste will actually increase our recycling. And last but not least, food waste can also be converted into useful resources and products. So here is actually the key snapshot of our food waste statistic in 2021. So food waste is actually one of the biggest waste streams in Singapore, as mentioned. So it counts for about 12% of the total waste generated in Singapore. So in 2021, we generated 817,000 tons of food waste, of which 19% is being recycled. So these are actually the homogeneous food waste that is currently being sent to for animal feed. So the remaining 81% is actually disposed of as our waste to energy incineration plants for energy recovery. So Singapore adopt this is the food waste management strategy adopted by Singapore. So we focus on the prevention and reduction of food waste at source. Next, redistribution of unsold and excess food, and then the recycling of food waste, and lastly, the recovery of energy, which I'll be elaborating more in details over the next few slides. So the first strategy is actually to prevent and also reduce food wastage at source. So since 2015, we have conducted the food waste reduction outreach program, which aim to increase the awareness of food waste situation in Singapore, and so in turn to encourage consumers to adopt smart food purchases, storage, and preparation habit that can be helped to minimize food wastage. So on the right, you can see that these are some of the publicity material that we have used in the campaign. And then in 2019, so this program has been sustained under the Say Yes to Wasteless program. Under the for the food waste reduction portion, it aims to actually reduce to encourage public to reduce the excessive use of disposable and also food wastage. So more than 1,600 premises have also joined the movement to encourage public to reduce the use of disposal and also the food wastage. So we also published a food waste management guidebook, which helps to guide the supermarket, food retail establishment, and also food manufacturing establishment towards developing their own food waste minimization plan. So it helps to outline possible areas and also strategy to minimize food waste. So there's actually step-by-step guide and also feature case study for the case study of the initiative by industry players. So next, move on to strategy 2, which is to the redistribution of unsold or excess food. So we encourage both organization and also member of public to actually donate their unsold and excess food to the food distribution organization. So this can be done through the food boxes that is being placed at premises, which allows individuals to drop off their excess food items that have not been expired at the designated collection point. So we also encourage food retail establishment to also tap on food redistribution app to sell their excess food. And then these guidelines on properly handling and redistribution of unsold and excess food has been incorporated into the food waste minimization guidebook mentioned earlier. So next is actually to recycle or treat our food waste. So in order to food waste that cannot be avoided should be recycled where possible. So to support the successful food waste recycling, food waste must be actually segregated for your non-food waste items such as your disposable cutlery and metal spoons, metal fork and spoon, which can disrupt the recycling process. So segregation of food waste is actually done best at the source at the point of generation. So this diagram outline the different recycling pathway for the food waste. So for the homogeneous food waste, as mentioned just now, so we try to promote the recycling of this homogeneous food waste into higher value product, such as the spent barley grain from beer brewing into animal feed, and also to explore cost-effective treatment solution to valorize all these homogeneous food waste byproduct. So one example could be the okara, which is in the soybean waste that can be processed into ready-to-eat flours, okara flours. So for the mixed food waste, so we encourage the adoption of on-site food waste treatment system. So segregation of the food waste at source can allow segregation of food waste at source for on-site food waste treatment will minimize transportation. And then these food waste are actually usually converted into compost, fertilizer for landscaping, or water for non-potable use. So this food waste on-site food waste treatment system has been adopted by more than 150 premises, such as your hawker center, hotel, shopping mall, supermarket, and educational institution to treat the food waste. So in order to guide the premises owner and operator in implementing proper food waste segregation and also adopting food waste recycling treatment, we have actually published a food waste segregation and treatment guidebook. So the guidebook actually features case study on food waste segregation and treatment for reference. So so the segregated food waste is actually being sent for further treatment. So in earlier, we have actually conducted, together with Singapore PUB, Singapore Water Agency, we have conducted a demonstration project to actually co-digest our food waste with used water sludge. So this result has been show positive result, and then this process show that we can yield more biogas yield from the co-digestion of food waste and used water sludge. So this approach will actually be implemented in Tuas Nexus, upcoming facility of NEA integrated waste management facility, and also PUB Tuas water reclamation plant. So with that, I've actually come to the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, we are in the same room, so I can thank you here live. So it's now time for Q&A. I see that there are some already in the chat for all the speakers. So I would like to, I think that the Chiang Mai municipality, which I say hello to, have some questions for all of the speaker. I think that we have already replied from the Milan side. So if you want to jump in to make the questions to Singapore and Bangkok, otherwise I can read, up to you. Okay, so I will jump into it. So question from Bangkok: how private sector participate with BMA food waste? If we are look forward to the Bangkok model, BCG model.
Yes, okay, answer. So BCG is a Thai government initiative, which stands for Bio, Circular and Green Economy Model. So pretty much what we're talking about today is all part of the BCG. But I think the question from Chiang Mai University municipality and also from the city of Bandung is rather similar in terms of asking about the engagement of the private sector and other stakeholders. So I'll just answer both. So we are very lucky, I have to say, because the third party that I mentioned, SOS and VVShare, they already have a handful of stakeholders who they already work with. So, you know, big malls and big private sector already have some sort of alliance or cooperation with these with these food bank third party. But what BMA come in, we complete the entire cycle, because what SOS and VVShares are still limited in is logistics. So they already deal a lot with the private sector, but then once they have all the food surplus, it's very difficult for them to arrange, you know, transportation to bring all the surplus food to every community across town. So once they have BMA as a partner, we plug in terms of that we can provide all the logistics, because we can link nearby district office to the nearest shopping mall or restaurant, and then link to the local community. So we are blessed with already private sector working with third party. We complete the cycle, but then again we also work very hard to talk directly to the private sector themselves and ask them to join not only the food bank but also food waste campaign as well. And luckily again that private sector in Thailand now are, especially the bigger conglomerates, are very alert on ESG front, and they all have, you know, commitments to reduce the food waste and, you know, other sorts of waste as well. So we try to, you know, make the system as comprehensive as possible, and then they can then jump in and then have a good system together. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bonfrom, for having also merged the two questions from Chiang Mai and Bandung. Chiang Mai has another question for Singapore. Do you have any idea between the size of population in each country and city to compare to food waste management?
All right, yeah, thank you for the question. So actually our Singapore population is currently about 5.64 million. So just now the statistic that we share is actually for the whole of Singapore. The generation of food waste was 817,000 tons in 2021. Yep.
Okay, thank you so much. If you have any other questions, please feel free to jump in directly or write them in the chat. So in the meantime, while you are thinking about the very last question for this session, I kindly ask you to switch on all your cameras for the very last picture of the year. So we will shoot some pictures. So please switch on your camera now. Okay. So Yo, if you want to make the countdown.
What about the vice mayor? Will she switch on her?
Yeah. Yeah, she will.
So we'll wait for her.
Okay.
Okay, all right. 1, 2, 3. I'll go to the next page. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're done.
Thank you so much. All this picture will be in the final report. Thank you, Yo. So let me also saying this while you are thinking if there are any other questions left. So together with the IOC team, we will draft a report of this series of webinar, and we will send it to you in January. So you will have all this material in shared in a unique report. I also take the opportunity to tell you that as this is the last webinar of this series, we have prepared survey that it will be a very helpful instrument and helpful tool to understand what you like the most about this webinar and also how we can improve. So I will ask to Serena if you can please start writing the link to participate to the survey in the chat. We will be very thankful if you can participate to it, and then we will also send this link with the material of this session by email very soon. Okay, so I don't know if there are any other questions. Otherwise I can. So there is a contribution of Morgan in the chat. Morgan, if you want to jump in, feel free. Okay, I will read it then. So we sometimes face challenges to get funding to ensure we have consistent data on food waste. Did any of your cities face a similar problem? And if so, how you get support to fund the data tracking? I don't know if Singapore wants to pick this question, or Bangkok or Milan.
Hi, Filippo. Maybe I can start off first. Yeah. So for Singapore, we do our waste statistics through sampling at our waste to energy plant. So this actually allows us to get data on the food waste. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. I think Milan wants to join the discussion.
Yeah, so it is quite a good question, and it is quite a struggle also from our point of view. I would say that one big effort that we are taking, and it's also a funding opportunity, is European projects. So of course you have to reach for additional resources, economic resources, to actually have the time and the professionals that are able to help on this side. This is also the experience in Milan.
Okay, thank you both. So I think we are going to the conclusion of the session if there are no more questions. And before giving the floor to Pablo, I would take this moment to heartily thank all the our team that was involved, in particular Siriwat and Serena. Without them, this training won't be possible. So thank you so much for your incredible effort through all this year. Okay, so if there are no more questions, I'm happy to give the floor now to Mr. Pablo Gandara, who is the team leader of the IURC program, for its closing remarks. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Filippo, and thank you to everyone, especially to the speakers today for such insightful presentations from Bangkok and from Singapore, of course, as well as from Iran. We know that. Thank you also very, very much for the welcoming words that brought us a little bit back what we have achieved over the last seminars with regard to the participation and the huge geographical coverage of the participation in the webinars. I wanted just to focus a little bit on what we're going to do next in a way. So first of all, as Filippo mentioned, we're going to have this evaluation. So please, it would be very important if the participants here, but also the colleagues who cannot make it today, but who have joined us in one of the last 6 sessions, you can contribute to that, and so that we can discuss, of course, with the EU and exactly how far we can continue this format. We were already thinking about maybe a sub-thematic, let's say, more targeted collaboration among especially those cities that are sharing very, very similar challenges. This needs to be further elaborated in a way, but I think this will be a little bit more the way forward. But again, this will be a proposal that we're going to discuss in January. So certainly in January, we will not have an event, but most probably from February onwards. Maybe that with regard to that. Also, I wanted to express my big thanks to the cities that have been working within the IURC in the area of basically urban food policy. I can see over here today not only Bangkok, of course, but also Bandung over there. Mr. Jinjing is over there, a very, very strong leader, as we all know, and because of the big actually conference and event that you held a few months ago. But also I see colleagues here from Penang, from the Penang Parai, Mr. Chiu over here. So very strong also participation from Malaysia. And just to name a few of the cities which are part of the bilateral city-to-city cooperation and which are now also sharing their experiences and challenges with many other cities here. Also, I wanted to express our gratitude to those private initiatives which have been involved in the trainings. So, for example, as we had a study visit with the city of Bangkok with VMA, we visited a restaurant which has been very focused on trying itself basically to showcase how a circular economy can look like, and therefore we had a very close basically follow up with them, and we were able to elaborate this infographic, which shows you a little bit, which I hope you're able to see now, which shows you a little bit how this restaurant in Bangkok, this Ban Nam Kieng Din, basically has been able to treat the whole value chain surrounding the restaurant with a circular economy perspective, and basically achieving waste and energy management measures, which are of course very efficient. So this infographic, for example, has been produced, and we are coming back to those examples that we think are extremely interesting. We're putting them in our website. Our website, by the way, is it's quite you can navigate here through our website and see a little bit what has been done. Either you go on the thematic networks approach, for example, and then you find within the thematic network approach over here is the issue of urban food, and you can find also some other cities that have been working over there. So you can navigate and see exactly, okay, what is the city, for example, of Bandung doing in this area, or the city of Bangkok, as far as we know. So this is one possibility. The other possibility, of course, to navigate and to see what we have been doing is also to look for, basically to make a search in our website, and then you will see all the resources, news that we have done both in Asia Pacific but also in other regions with regards to urban food systems. So this is an invitation in a way also to use our website and to take it as maybe a source for knowledge management that prevails here or complements actually the trainings. I think I wanted just again to express our gratitude to Milan, especially to the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact Secretariat, of course, Mayor Scavuzzo. I think you have a great team which has been extremely engaged since the very beginning of the IURC project, and we are extremely grateful and delighted of having been able to work so close with Filippo, Serena, and with other colleagues. So thank you very, very much for this engagement. We really appreciate it. And Filippo, I think that's it from my side for the moment, and you will hear from us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Pablo, for your kind words of appreciation. It has been a pleasure to work with you and to work with all the cities that that participate in the training. Thank you also for the speakers of today and to all the speakers that participate in this series of training. So please fill the survey. It will be very useful for us in order to shape new activities for 2023 together with the IURC. And I'm happy also to tell you that we are concluding our last webinar perfectly on time. So thank you so much, everyone, and we will keep you posted about next activity for 2023. Please fill the survey. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.